The courtroom was heavy with silence. 11 top lawyers sat defeated, heads bowed, papers scattered across the polished mahogany table. A man in his 60s, dressed in a designer gray suit, looked out the window of the 35th floor conference room with tired eyes. That man was Mr. Harold Whitman, a billionaire real estate tycoon, and for the first time in years, he felt helpless. "This lawsuit will destroy everything I built," he muttered. His voice was barely above a whisper, but the weight it carried was massive. Across from him, the lead attorney shook his head. "I'm sorry, sir. We've combed through every document, every precedent. There's no way out of this. They'll take your properties, your name, your legacy." It wasn't just a lawsuit. It was a betrayal. A former business partner had framed Harold with falsified documents and financial fraud claims. The evidence was stacked like bricks in a prison wall, and every lawyer, each one a specialist in corporate law, had given up. Just outside the glass wall, Maria quietly swept the floor. She wore a plain blue uniform, her hands wrapped in worn gloves. No one noticed her, as usual. That's how it had always been since she started working there 4 years ago. She was invisible in the room where men wore $1,000 suits and spoke in legal jargon she didn't understand, at least not most of the time. But today, Maria couldn't help but overhear the conversation. The mention of the Camberley file caught her attention. She remembered that file. She had once found a piece of it in the shredder room. It had fallen behind the trash bin months ago when she was cleaning. A signature that didn't match, a page that wasn't supposed to be there. She hesitated. This wasn't her place. She was a cleaning lady, not a lawyer. But something deep inside her wouldn't stay quiet. She tapped gently on the door and peeked in. All 11 lawyers turned, some annoyed, some confused. "I'm sorry to interrupt, sir," she said, her voice shaky, "but, may I say something?" Harold looked at her, barely recognizing her face despite seeing her every day. "It's about that file you mentioned. The Camberley file." The room went still. "What about it?" one lawyer asked skeptically. Maria stepped forward slowly, holding her cleaning cart like a shield. "Months ago, I found a page from that file. It looked strange. Like someone had tried to destroy it but didn't succeed. It had different handwriting. I kept it, just in case." She reached into her pocket and unfolded a crumpled paper, carefully kept between a plastic envelope. It was yellowed, wrinkled, but the signature was clear. And more importantly, it was not a match. One of the lawyers rushed forward, took the paper, and scanned it. "Wait, this changes everything." The team erupted into motion. Files were reopened, the data re-examined. Within minutes, the entire trajectory of the case shifted. Maria stood frozen in the corner, unsure if she had done something wrong or right. Harold watched as the lawyers scrambled like ants around a broken nest, suddenly alive again. His heart pounded, not with fear, but with a hope he hadn't felt in weeks. 2 days later, in the courtroom, the new evidence shattered the prosecution's claims. The judge dismissed the case entirely. The forgery was undeniable. Harold was free. His company saved. His name cleared. The media ran headlines like "Billionaire Beats Fraud Case" and "Justice Served," but no one mentioned the woman who found the missing piece. No one except Harold. The next morning, Maria arrived at work to find the entire staff waiting in the lobby. Harold stepped forward and held out a small velvet box. "This belongs to you," he said. Inside was a gold pin, engraved with the company crest and the words "Heart of Integrity." "And this," he added, holding out a folder, "is your new job offer. Head of Facility Management. Full benefits. Training. And, if you accept, scholarship funding for any education you want." Maria's hands trembled as she took the folder. She looked up at Harold, her eyes wide. Why would you do this? He smiled, the first real smile in days. Because when 11 lawyers gave up, you didn't. You listened. You remembered. You cared. That kind of honesty and kindness can't be bought. Maria nodded slowly, too overwhelmed to speak. And just like that, the woman no one noticed became the person who saved everything, not with degrees or money, but with quiet courage and a kind heart that remembered a single page no one else cared to see. Some would call it luck. Harold called it something else entirely. A reminder, he later told a reporter, that the solution doesn't always come from the top. Sometimes it's waiting in the heart of the humblest person in the room. And Maria? She didn't stop cleaning. But now, when she did, she walked with pride, her head held high. Not because of the promotion, but because she proved that kindness, no matter how small, can move mountains where brilliance fails.